Boom, you looking for this?
Welcome back to BoomShot. I'm Kel. This is Colby.
Yes, sir.
It's that time of the year again. It's actually the end of the year, which means it's time for our end of the year recap of all the movies and shows that happened this year. So as usual, we'll go ahead and explain kind of the rules for this. So we'll rank from 10 to 1. We're doing our top 10 this year, and then my movie will be on the left, movie or show will be on the left, and your movie or show will be on the right. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into this. Okay, so the first piece of content that I'm going to rank, my number 10 is actually a movie that came out in actually this last December, and I have to find it real quick because these are I can't really see. Is Red One. This movie was a fun experience. I'm not gonna lie. It was nothing to write home about, I would say, but I think I could say that for a holiday movie, I went in, I had fun, good cast. I think Chris Evans was probably the star of the show for the movie. I don't know if you saw it.
This is one I haven't seen.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it, but he was probably the star of the movie. He really had a commanding presence. But it was just an interesting movie throughout, so I'll give it number 10.
Yeah, I feel like that's all you can really ask for the 10 slot is just a fun time.
Yeah.
But actually for me, I'm going with a movie I really enjoyed. I don't know how it slid to 10. I guess maybe because we include shows, but I'm going Gladiator 2 here.
Dude, Gladiator 2? I can't believe that.
I really enjoyed this movie. I actually opted to watch it a second time instead of watching Red One.
Yeah. Okay, I see how it is.
No, I mean, I went with someone else who hadn't seen it before, but I really enjoyed it. I think it was a fun watch, and it was really cool to see that period of time, and it was a hopeful ending to the first one, which I haven't seen, but I've heard a lot about. Don't flame me for that.
Yeah, you'll probably get flamed for that one, but yeah, so that's number 10. So number 9 for me is actually probably a shock here, the Acolyte, dude.
Wow.
I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this one for sure, but I will say, okay, it may have done some things to Star Wars that we may not have wanted. But I was entertained throughout, for the most part, and it did something different. And I have to give it props for that. It wasn't like your generic. It didn't feel like a generic Star Wars show. Like it felt like it tried to do something different. I love the High Republic era. Yeah. I also love the themes of like the themes of sabotage and like espionage that we get to see. Like where the Jedi Order is basically disgracing itself by covering this up. Yeah. I think that's a really cool thing to see. I enjoyed it, so I'm gonna give it number 9.
Yeah, I think Saul was great in this show, and so is Manny Jacinto's character, the Sith, and Plagueis. I hope we can see more of him. I think his design looks
at some
good.
point for sure.
For my 9th spot, I'm gonna check my list here, and I'm gonna go Fall Guy.
Fall Guy, Ryan Reynolds movie. Ryan Reynolds and Emily Blunt.
Yeah, it's got a good duo there at the top of the list at the cast. But I mean, it's a really fun movie, action movie. Mm-hmm. It was really cool for me to see that kind of behind the scenes of like stunt people. Like the main characters were the stunt people on a movie set. So it was really cool, and a director. So it was really cool to see that from high-profile actors. Yeah. And it was just a fun take, and it was really...
Didn't do their own stunts. So...
Yeah, it was just an enjoyable movie.
And by the way, it's not Ryan Reynolds, it's Ryan Gosling. I had that confused, but I corrected myself.
Honestly, I thought that's what you said, Loki. I heard Ryan, and I was like, yep.
Yeah. Dude, my number 8 movie, though, or show, I guess I should say, is actually going to be Madam Web. Just kidding. I'm actually going to do The Bad Batch. If I could give an honorary mention though, it would be Madam Web, because we went to go see that together, and the movie was so bad that it was actually hilarious. It was actually enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, it was bad fun.
It was a
bad fun movie.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But as for The Bad Batch, this was a great show. Obviously, season 3 wrapped everything up with the Batch's storyline, and we get to see Omega at the very end, and that was a really cool ending. I did like the show. I feel like it's in the first season it started off really strong and then kind of tapered in the middle, low taper fade, but then it started to get really good again in the 3rd season. So I did enjoy it. I thought the villain was incredible. I can't remember the scientist's name.
But I can see his face. I know you're talking about.
Yeah, he was a good villain. I don't know. It has a lot of like interesting tie-ins to Star Wars as well, and I love some Star Wars animation. So gotta give it 8.
I would say season 1, like you said, it was really good. It had some low points, lower points, and then season 2 had to me had the lowest and the highest points.
Every time you say low, taper, or fade, it makes
there we
me
go.
God, dude, my brain's
We're
cooked.
gonna have 30 references to that in this video. But yeah, I think season 3 was the most consistent, just like solid every episode, and kind of built on the last one, and it was really enjoyable to see how it kind of wrapped up.
Yeah, I agree.
So for
Mana.
For my number 8 spot, I'm gonna go from Fall Guy to Fallout, the TV show.
Ooh.
I really enjoyed this. I've never even played the games. I haven't seen Gladiator and I haven't played Fallout, but they're on my list, dude. I thought it was incredible. It was really cool to kind of see like the nuclear fallout and what like kind of that scenario, what would happen, and then the ghoul was great. I think overall it was a great adaptation from what I've heard. But even if like you're someone like me who hadn't played the games, I did watch a playthrough one time, but it was really enjoyable for some, even like The Last of Us, kind of like that. I never played it, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, and you get a gist of what the game is actually like from the show, even if it doesn't necessarily stick to its original source material. But I feel like it did represent it well, so I agree with that.
It had me from the get-go, dude, when they were at that party or whatever, and then they were like saying, because they knew like all this tension was going on, and before the ghoul he's telling his daughter, like if it's bigger than the size of your thumb, then don't even bother running or something. Yeah. And then, like, not much later, you kind of see it in the background, and she's sitting there like this, dude.
Dude, that was I didn't watch the whole show, but I did watch the first episode, and I was like, dude, that part was intense, man. But I love to see the beginning of how things go wrong.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with that, which actually is a great segue into my next movie, which is Quiet Place Day 1.
Yeah. Literally the beginning of how things go wrong.
Yeah, and you made this point on the first recording because I accidentally deleted the screen recording of the first one, so we're doing this again. You said this on the first recording that this was actually my number one movie of or number one anticipated movie of 2024, which you can go back and check that, free views anyway. But I think it was really good. I think the first two Quiet Places are better. Yeah. But I do like to see the beginning of how things, especially in apocalyptic films, how things went wrong. Like, I'm a big lore person. So like whenever I play The Last of Us, dude, I dive deep into the lore of how it started and stuff like that. Kind of reminded me of this. Honestly, you know, I think it's Lupita. I don't know how you say your last name. She was great, and then
dude,
Joseph Quinn. Yeah, and you made a good point too that like there's not much dialogue, and they have to use like their body language and stuff like that and to communicate.
Yeah, and even the cat was like a real big player in this, dude. It was tugging at the heartstrings, especially at the end when she like gave the cat, and then she stayed back, bro. Dude,
it was just a good movie, so I gotta give it number 7.
Yeah, it was really good, and I'll say this: I think I messed up. I'm gonna go Fallout at number 7, so I'll talk about my number 8 is going to be Twisters.
Okay, see, given the fact that we've done this twice, I was actually hovering over Twisters because I thought what you were about to do.
Dude, somehow I messed up with a list right here.
Yeah.
I thought I could do it since we've done it before without looking, but I messed up with a list right next to me. But Twisters is just like a great film. I feel like it's a summer flick, kind of like you said in the first recording, like a Top Gun sequel, Top Gun Maverick sequel. I mean, obviously that was our number one movie for both of us that year.
Yeah.
So I mean, I have it at 8 here, but that's not a knock on me. I think it was a great movie, really enjoyable, and it's definitely like family friendly. Just one of those movies that you can take the whole family and see and have a good time, grab some popcorn. But I mean, Glenn Powell, he's the next guy up. I feel like him and Timothy Chalamet are like taking over.
Yeah, they're taking over Hollywood right now. But it does feel very Top Gun Maverick-esque, like take on the original, and in probably a lot of ways it might have done it better. So I definitely feel that way about Top Gun Maverick. You can at me if you want to. So no, that's a good movie. So for number 6, I got to go with Deadpool and Wolverine. And if you know anything about this channel, you know that we're pretty much Marvel centric. That's how we started. We started as a Marvel centric channel. I like to think that our taste has grown since then.
Yeah, it has.
Not to say that this is a bad movie, because it was a fun watch. I wouldn't probably watch it again, but for what it was worth and like for what I got to watch, I did enjoy it. It was a lot of fun. I liked seeing Logan on the screen. I felt like it had a lot of emotional beats with Logan, and even Wade to an extent as well. I do feel like I feel like we got to see him wanting to be a hero and like, you know, everything like that. So I do agree with that. I thought it was hilarious. A lot of pop culture humor. So.
Yeah, and I mean, it was kind of a down year for comic book movies. I feel like, and
in terms of quantity, because we didn't get a lot of them.
No, there's hardly any, and this was like the only one that had a rating over 50%. Because you had Venom, Joker, Craven, and Madam Web. I think were the other ones. So I mean, this was definitely. I'm glad we had this. It was like a tentpole movie for comic book fans.
They needed it, dude.
I like that. So I'm gonna go with Invincible season 3 in my 6th spot here.
Dude, is that a twist, dude? Was that in the first?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Maybe I'm tripping, dude.
But yeah, I really enjoyed this show as a whole, and this season I feel like it's picking up. Hopefully, we'll get the next one soon. I know they kind of teased that in this season, like the animators, about having to wait for it. But I really enjoyed this show. If you haven't seen it, it's for mature audiences, even though it's animated. But it's definitely really good. It nails the father-son dynamic with Omni-Man kind of being a villain, but still caring for his son who has to become the hero, the unlikely hero. So I don't know, man. I really enjoyed season 3 with the whole romantic pull at the heartstrings too. So I don't want to spoil too much if you haven't seen it, but it's definitely worth a watch.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm sorry. It seems I'm tuned out. I'm trying to figure out what I had at number 5. Well, I may just throw one on here until I figure out what I had. Number 5. What did I have? I should have taken a screenshot of the last list. That's what I get. What is this right here?
That's Gladiator. I think that may have been it.
I think I had Gladiator right there.
I think that was it.
Yeah, okay. Well, I do. Maybe it is Gladiator. TBD. We'll figure it out. But I may re-rank these at the end, just after I put every movie I've seen or show. But I did like Gladiator too. Again, I did not watch Gladiator 1, so roast me in the comments.
You can roast us both now.
Yeah,
in the same boat.
But I will say this, like, for what it's worth, I knew what was going on in Gladiator 2 because they did such a good job of explaining what happened in Gladiator 1.
Yeah.
And dude, seeing the Roman Coliseum and like Rome at its full height and power, like on the big screen, I felt like the CGI, like in everything they did, was pretty accurate. And also really, like, it was very visually appealing. Paul Mescal, Pedro Pascal, great cast.
Denzel Washington was
great. Washington, dude, freaking hated that dude. Which means he played his character great.
Yeah, he was great.
The only complaint I had, the only reason that's at 5, wish I could have seen more Pedro. That's what I'll leave with.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. But yeah, I watched an interview with Paul Mescal kind of about this movie last night. And at the time, I didn't know as much about who he was, but he killed it in this role.
Oh, dude, he's fantastic. I thought he did really well. And I think it piggybacked on the greatness of the first one. So
yeah,
I'll give it that.
Yeah. My 5 spot, I'm gonna go with Deadpool and Wolverine.
Ooh.
So like we talked about before, I think it was just an all around good movie with like a lot of nods to certain things in the MCU with kind of staying a contained story about Logan and about Deadpool. So I think it was really cool that it did that and didn't try and do too much like we've seen recently with Quantumania and Love and Thunder to an extent.
Yeah. It was very toned down.
Yeah, and this would be the movie to do it, really, because he was coming into a different universe. And it was cool to see that he like tried out for the Avengers, he didn't get it, and kind of the same with Logan in this. He kind of had to overcome his past. So I think it was a good movie. I mean, you had X-23, you had Blade, you had everybody in there.
Gambit,
it was awesome. And the Gambit.
Yeah, so it was. I mean, and it had a gigantic cultural moment if you really think about it. With the Like a Prayer choir, dude, you see that in almost every TikTok or reel. They say, yeah, dude. Yeah, it was really good.
It's an epic song.
I think number 4 for me, and I can't remember if this is how it happened on my last list, but this is what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go Dune Part 2. I may get crucified for this. All right, I may get hated on. But you got to hear me out. This probably is objectively the best movie of the year. Probably objectively the best movie of the year. However, it was not my favorite, and I'm ranking it based on what's my favorite.
That's what matters here.
And so this movie was a cinematic experience though. We went to go watch it in IMAX. Dude, hearing the Hans Zimmer score. Dude, hearing that, and then obviously you get to see Chani and Paul on screen, dude, and you get to see Paul step into his role as the Messiah of the Dune universe. The worm ride scene was sick, dude, and then like seeing the scene of the nukes flying out onto Arrakis, dude, or Arrakeen, and then you see like the worms like coming, dude. It was just sick. It was just like it a cinematic masterpiece.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing really to complain about. The story was engaging. I loved it. So
yeah, it was incredible. At my 4th spot, I'm gonna go with Inside Out 2.
Ooh.
This movie it's one of those ones. It tugs at the heartstrings.
Oh yeah.
It's one of the few things I watched this year that really like kind of made me tear up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get joy kind of struggling with the new emotions coming in, and I mean it's great.
It's an incredible movie.
The quote that gets me at the end is when she said, "Maybe when we get older, we just experience less joy." When she's sitting on the rocks, it looks like everything is over with, and then lo and behold, they kind of save the day and get back and save the anxiety attack. But I don't know, man. This movie was great. I saw it twice in theaters, and I'll see it again for sure.
Oh, it's fantastic, which is why it's my number 3 movie. Dude, this movie probably kind of like what you're saying. Like out of all the movies here on my list, it's the one that hit me the hardest, probably.
Yeah.
Like being as somebody who struggles with anxiety and stuff like that, like getting to see how simple but well crafted the story was, and how simple they portray the brain and its inner workings, but how real it is.
Yeah.
Even with like things like core beliefs and things like that, with like your new emotions as you get older, I thought that was just genius. But even I love that scene that you talked about, but probably one of the most powerful scenes for me is whenever Riley like is playing hockey and she's trying to score and she can't, and she like ends up like clocking one of her best friends or something like that, and she gets into the penalty box and she starts having like this intense anxiety attack. Like, I don't know, it was just very powerful to see on screen. Like, and this was a sequel for our generation, and so I think it was really cool to see that it touched me very personally. It definitely made me tear up, and so this has got to be my number 3 movie.
Yeah, and that scene you were talking about was really cool to see. Like in her mind, anxiety was like having a panic anxiety attack, and then Joy obviously tries to like go in there and help and console anxiety, but at the same time, her friends, even though they've kind of been burned by her like the past couple days of this camp, they come over and try and help her out too. So that was really cool. Like the power of friendship too. As cliche as that sounds, it was really cool to see.
Well, even just the fact that like anxiety, like the core beliefs you have about yourself affects anxiety, but anxiety affects the core beliefs you have about yourself, and that like endless loop of how like anxiety would create like a core memory and core belief and then place it there, and then every single time that she would do something, it was I'm not good enough, and that comes from anxiety, but it only fed anxiety too because she's trying to make her better. So like I thought that was really, I just thought it did that whole picture really well.
Yeah, and then also I just thought of this scene where anxiety is at this point where joy and the other emotions are like cast out, and anxiety's trying to do the brainstorm thing or whatever. And like she has all these people coming up with like things that could go wrong, and then Joy goes in there and starts coming up with stuff like good memories, things that could go right. So it was really cool to see that.
Dude, yeah, just so simple, but it's powerful.
Yeah. And my 3 spot, I'm gonna go with Rings of Power Season 2.
Ooh,
this is probably my most controversial pick here. I know a lot of people haven't liked this adaptation or continuation of the story. But obviously it's kind of a prequel to it all. We get to see how Sauron rises to power, and that really happens in this season more so than the first. He becomes Sauron fully. But this, I mean, if you watch our channel and like any of our Lord of the Rings video, you know my wife Maddie's and she's a huge fan. And so we watched this together, and it was really cool to see. She was able to explain to me some of the lore, but this is probably the most beautiful show I've seen in a long time. Especially
leave it to Amazon with the budget.
Yeah, they had unlimited budget, so that's part of it. But it looked really good. The cast was great, and I mean, I think it had a good heart to it, a good story that was kind of uplifting. Like even though there's this big bad guy who looks like he can't be overcome, it's the small person, it's the Hobbit, it's the Harfoot that has the heart, even though they're not the strongest, that can win over. This.
Light, not strength.
Yeah,
that quote.
That quote that said, like you just said, Caleb Moore said, it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I didn't watch it.
It's worth a watch. It's worth a watch.
I probably should watch it, but that there's kind of like a gateway of like the lore is too deep, and it's like if I'm not interested enough in the lore to like learn the lore, then I don't watch it. So, but anyway, and I bet it was really good. For my number 2 spot, I gotta go with probably one of the most slept on movies of the year, Transformers 1.
Yeah, for sure.
This movie was done a complete disservice in the advertising department, dude. They did not advertise this movie. Really, they didn't advertise it at all. Like,
Yeah.
they didn't do it well, but they didn't really do it at all. And so, this movie was very slept on. Great voice cast.
Yeah,
dude,
a huge cast.
Scarlett Johansson, Brian Tyree Henry, dude.
Chris Hemsworth.
Keegan Michael Key, dude.
Yeah.
He was in it too. And what's the guy from Top Gun Maverick? Cyclone, who plays Cyclone? I can't remember his name, but he was in it too. He was the one who played Samuel Prime. Yeah. So like, dude, it had a star-studded voice cast. And this movie was just maybe it's because I love Transformers, but
this should have been the Spider-Verse of the Transformers universe,
yes.
but it just didn't get the push.
Yeah, it didn't get the push, but it was beautiful animated movie. But also getting to see the rise of Optimus Prime in the fall of Megatron, like in that one sequence, whenever like D16 shoots Optimus, dude, like him falling down the pit, like, and just awesome. The fact that like Orion, or Primus chose Orion Pax because of his bravery, like, dude, it just hit like a brick, man. I'm not even gonna lie, like I got so much chills during that scene, but I love this movie. Got to give it my number 2 spot.
Yeah, I loved it too, and I was gonna say like any given day when we do this ranking, it could be in my top 5. Like that's pretty competitive, but definitely my top 2 are locks, and my 2 is gonna be the Penguin.
Yeah.
I've already seen this twice, and I saw it twice.
Do your Penguin impersonation for the people.
Vic, I gotta shoot me coming in. Well, that was bad. I was under pressure, but I saw this after like all the episodes that come out. I watched all of them in 2 days. Stayed up till 3 a.m. on a work night.
Yeah, I've been watching them weekly.
Yeah,
I've been trying to get them on the show. I was like, dude, this show's amazing. You gotta watch it.
Yeah, and as soon as the last episode came out, I watched it and then finished it the next day, pretty much, and within 2 days. And then like a week later, I finished it all again in 2 days with somebody. So that's how good this show is. I mean, you get to see the inner workings of Gotham without like really a hero until the very last frame, really. So it was cool to see how Oz was always one step ahead. The acting was incredible. The music was incredible, dude. I love the Penguin theme. But yeah, I mean, it's like 1A, 1B.
Yeah, and I get you're not going into super deep detail because that's actually my number 1. Oops, that's not the Penguin.
Bad Batch again, making a run.
No, my number 1 show of piece of content from this year is definitely the Penguin. Dude, this show it's just simply incredible. I don't really think there's any other way to put it. Just simply incredible. It did what it was trying to do so well, which is obviously furthering the Batman universe, the Pattinson universe.
Which, since we recorded this the first time, we found out has been delayed again. By the way.
Dude, rest in peace, man. I need that to come out soon. Anyway, no, it's just simply incredible, and I feel like it kind of played on the more darker themes of like shows like Breaking Bad, for example, where
very similar.
There really isn't a main character you can root for. Like in Breaking Bad, like you want to root for Walter, but he's like, you watch him slowly lose himself, but actually in a way find himself. You watch him slowly find himself over the course of the show. You want to root for Jesse. You kind of can root for Jesse, but
you feel bad for him. Especially
you feel bad for him. You can't really root for him because he's not a great person, but you feel bad for him, like what Walt does, and then like. So it's just like you see that there's not really anybody to root for, and like this show does such a good job of making you root for Oz, dude. Yeah, like you want him to win. Like whenever he's got the underground drug operation, and like whenever the like Salvatore infiltrates and like he kills Salvatore, you're like, let's go. Like, but then you get to the end of the episode, bro, and he freaking kills Vic, dude. That is the most brutal. Dude, it was so sad.
He kills Vic and then like does exactly what his mom didn't want him to do. And then in his own twisted mind, he's like still doing it for her. Yeah. And then probably like the most awkward part of the show, he dances with his girlfriend or whatever, dressed as his mom.
Dude, that was weird. but that's what made the show like so good, is that Oz is so delusional. You don't even know if this story is accurate. Like he's so delusional.
It brings that into question.
Yeah, like at the beginning of the show when he says that the city took his brothers, like, no, you took your own brothers, and he's like fooled himself into thinking that the city is responsible, and like he's supposed to be this, kind of like savior of his neighborhood, like Rex Calabrese was. Like, But
yeah, and even Rex, dude, he thought he was like the hero of his town, but Rex was gonna kill him.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, dude. This show was so like, it was so nuanced. But I love the shows that don't necessarily have it's hard to root for anybody, and I think that's kind of in a way like, especially for Gotham, I feel like it fits really well.
Yeah, and then Sophia Falcone.
Yeah, Sophia was amazing. Salvatore was amazing. You had Alberto. You had you had all the Falcone family, really. But I will say the show gives you nobody to root for until the very end, and I feel like that's probably one of the coldest scenes of any show I've ever watched. Like, you watch him as he dances with his mom, like thinking he's like on top of the world, and then it just slowly pans out, and you're like, dang, this show's gonna end on a complete like downer. Yeah, and then it ends with the bat signal, and so you're like, okay, it's about to go down. Like,
yeah, he literally kills Vic, puts his mom up in the penthouse, and she has a tear coming down her face because she can't,
of what he's done. Yeah,
and she can't like reply to him or anything, and then. Yeah, the dancing scene, and then it pans out, and it's one of the best frames of all time. Yeah, dude, in my opinion,
it was beautiful. So that's my number one of the year.
My number one, I'm gonna have to go with Dune Part 2.
Solid.
As you mentioned earlier, it's just a cinematic masterpiece. It's probably a top 5 movie of all time for me.
For sure.
I would have had. I mean, we debated putting Interstellar on here. That because we saw it in IMAX. That would have been a tough call.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking about that now.
I would have put Interstellar number 1.
I would have had to. That's probably my favorite movie of all time.
I love that movie.
There. But Dune Part 2. I mean, what can you say about it, dude? I mean, the music, like you said, the cinematography, the complexity of Paul Atreides, brain fart, Paul Atreides, and what he has to do to become the Lisan El Gaib. He kind of has to burn Chani a little bit and take Florence Pugh's character as his to-be wife.
Which is so, dude, that's so, like, watching the movie as a whole and, like, saying that I'll never leave you. Like, there's the song, one of the songs is called Never Lose Me. Like, and that was the song whenever they have that conversation of, like, she's like, you can't lose yourself. Dude, it's so good.
And he was the reluctant hero. I mean, he didn't want to do it. His mom, Rebecca Ferguson's character, was like the one, kind of pushing him towards it the whole time. And he was like, "I'm not this person. Yeah, I'm not this person.
Gay women.
And I'm not this person. I'm not this person." And then he has to be. So I'm really excited to see Dune Messiah. And I mean, the scene where the sandworms come out, like you said, bro, and Stilgar, one of my favorite characters of the year, is on top, and it's like, and they have the Atreides flag flying.
Dude, it's so sick.
That'll bring a tear to my eye. So.
Dude, nothing will beat in Dune Part 1, though, like, whenever they get infiltrated at Arrakeen, and, like, the Harkonnens, like, come in and, like, destroy the entire city, dude. Bro, that was... I know that's not Dune Part 2, but, dude, that just set the scale of what they can do in this universe. Yeah. And, yeah, it's crazy, dude. But there's no other way to put it other than just a cinematic masterpiece.
It's great.
It'll go down in history as one of the best of all time. So, as I think it should. So,
dude, this might be the first time we've never had anything line up. We did the first time.
Yeah, we did the first time. I think I put Inside Out 3 or Inside Out 2 at number 3, but I changed that around this time. I think on accident, but that's probably how I feel about it. So,
but yeah, like I said, I have Dune Part 2 and Penguin 1A and 1B. I mean, they're both number 1 to me.
Dude, just a lot of incredible movies this year. Our palette is definitely developed for movies, as we said. Not that Marvel movies are bad, but just that we've branched out a little bit more. Looking ahead to 2025, which we'll do a video on that probably, but there's a lot of good movies and shows coming up, so stay tuned for...
We're gonna have to do a top 50.
Yeah, probably. I sent you a tweet the other day about all the shows coming out, and I was like, dude, I don't know if I can... I don't know if we can do this on 10, so we're gonna have to do multiple videos, maybe like a playoffs or something like that. But anyway, let us know what you guys think. Let us know your list down in the comments below, and thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.